This program proudly sponsored by the Mazda 929 and McDonald's Family Restaurants.
A government go-ahead for homosexuals in the armed forces. The repossessors take stock of controversial medico Jeffrey Edelston. And bundles of joy. Alistair's 63 children and 9 wives.
From National 9 News, this is Nightline with Jim Waley.
Good evening. Federal Cabinet tonight took the bold step of permitting homosexuals to serve in Australia's armed forces. It was a defeat for Defence Minister Robert Ray and military chiefs who'd lobbied strongly against lifting the ban. The opposition says Senator Ray should resign and would look at reintroducing the ban if elected next year. Kathy Swan has the latest from Canberra.
It's official. The provisions discriminating against homosexuals in Australia's Defence Forces are to be lifted immediately, following today's decision in Federal Cabinet. The key argument in favour of lifting the ban on homosexuals was that it was in breach of human rights and equal opportunity laws. But Defence Minister Robert Ray had opposed its lifting along with Defence Force chiefs who advised against the move on the grounds that it could threaten morale and cohesion. The Armed Forces Federation of Australia says the decision was inevitable.
It's disappointing as well because it would appear as though the service chiefs have not been allowed to get on with what they want to do, which is to run their own arms of the Defence Force.
Overseas, Canada has recently announced the lifting of its ban on homosexuals in the Defence Forces, and US President-elect Bill Clinton has promised to do the same. But if there is a change of government here at the next federal election, the coalition says they'd reinstate the ban.
Well, that depends on the advice of the service chiefs, and it depends also a bit on the timing of the election.
A statement by Prime Minister Paul Keating says the decision reflects broad support in the Australian community for the removal of employment discrimination of any kind. It adds that Cabinet does not believe the move will have an adverse effect on morale or cohesion in the Defence Forces. Even before Cabinet reached its decision, the RSL was warning that it wouldn't work.
It'd be a breaking down of discipline. Moral standards are downhill. Where are we going in this country?
Veterans organisations have also been alarmed at reports Australia is actively considering defence cooperation with Vietnam.
I suppose sometime in the future the time will be right, but I think it's just too early.
The Defence Minister says any contact with the Hanoi regime is subject to the strictest conditions.
That if Vietnam over the years becomes a democratic non-communist country, would have defence dealings with them, but not before.
Kathy Swan for Nightline.
There was a terrible accident in Melbourne today with 3 children burnt to death when a parked van caught fire without warning.
The burnt-out shell of the Mitsubishi van was all that remained this morning after fire claimed the lives of the 3 young children. Just after 10 a.m, a Pearcedale couple stopped at a roundabout at Langwarrin to help a truckie who'd lost part of his load. 2 of their children and a young family friend stayed in the van. Soon after, the parents heard a car horn and turned to see the van was on fire. With strong winds fanning the flames, the van was quickly engulfed. There was little onlookers or the parents could do.
I couldn't even get within 2 to 3 metres of the car, let alone inside it. The flames were that intense.
Photographer Gary Bosley was one of the first to reach the scene.
The truck driver had a fire extinguisher on his truck which he used, but it was virtually useless in a situation like that. I know the parents made every effort they could, just by talking to some of the eyewitnesses, and they said that they couldn't do it.
A girl 5, her 3-year-old brother and a family friend, also aged 3, were killed in the blaze. Their names have been withheld at the request of the parents. The couple and the truck driver were taken to Frankston Hospital suffering extreme shock. Roads leading to the Cranbourne-Frankston Road roundabout were blocked for more than 2 hours while accident investigation officers and coroner Hal Hallenstein inspected the site.
It's not immediately apparent how the fire started. The vehicle is fitted with an LPG gas tank. The investigations into that, of course, will continue.
The shell of the van was taken away for further forensic tests late today. Des Dowling for Nightline.
Dr. Jeffrey Edelston probably thought his life was slowly mending after the ups and downs of the past few years. But today it took a turn for the worse, with creditors stripping his Melbourne surgery. His former solicitor claimed ownership of the furniture, alleging the doctor was behind in his payments.
Patients were still arriving at the Eddleston surgery when removalists turned up to strip the premises. Within minutes, the first sofa was out the door. With well-practiced precision, the team went about their work without interruption until Dr. Eddleston arrived.
Dr. Eddleston, we're taking all your property away today.
The doctor kept smiling until he spotted a large television set heading out the door. Then his mood changed rapidly.
Keep going. Yeah, wait a minute. Keep going. Just keep going.
Even that Eddleston trademark, the baby grand piano, wasn't spared. Getting it to the removal van was no easy task, and these repossession agents weren't noted for their soft touch. Back inside the surgery, Dr. Eddleston grappled with the agent's boss, and still the patients waited. By this time, the doctor had called in the police, but he wouldn't say what it was all about.
I will as soon as I've reported this theft to the police.
As the doctor and police headed off to talk, the agent denied he was stealing.
He can say what he likes. I've got a document here that tells me I'm not.
Apparently satisfied, the police allowed the vans to leave. Dr. Eddleston's former solicitor, Mr. Abe Erdenast, said he'd repossessed the furniture, which had become his property, as payment for outstanding legal fees. Dr. Eddleston has been practising in Melbourne for 15 months. He moved to Victoria after being struck off the medical register in New South Wales, where he also served 1 year in jail for assaulting a patient. Undeterred, Dr. Eddleston said he'd be ordering new furniture immediately. He said his practices in 3 Melbourne locations would continue uninterrupted. Jason Cameron for Nightline.
There's been another attempted suicide in a New South Wales jail. Already in the past month, 4 people have died in custody and 2 others have tried to kill themselves. Today's incident happened at Griffith in the state's south. Police say the 19-year-old man tried to hang himself with a sock in a police exercise yard. Former New South Wales Police Minister Ted Pickering has told the Angus Rigger inquiry that Police Commissioner Tony Lauer tried to control him with what he called sinister offers. The inquiry is investigating the police's role in the demise of Mr Pickering after he denied knowledge of Angus Rigg's suicide bid in a police cell. The former minister claimed the commissioner was trying to bring him under control by offering to suppress the fact that information had been passed to Pickering's office. He also accused corrupt New South Wales police of protecting pedophiles and destroying drug investigations. At the other major inquiry in New South Wales, the one investigating alleged links between police and criminals, one of those accused claims to have been set up. Detective Sergeant Lance Chaffee denied that in 1987 he agreed to sabotage his investigation into notorious criminal Neddy Smith and fellow officer Roger Rogerson, who were both suspected of a string of armed robberies. He also contradicted evidence from other senior officers that he met with Rogerson and Neddy Smith at an RSL club. Sydney's rail commuters face more disruption later this week because of the row over plans to privatise the Chullora and Clyde maintenance depots. The Industrial Commission has rejected moves to ban strikes, and rail unions will now meet on Wednesday to discuss further action. The good news about the Windsor Castle fire is that many of the paintings feared lost were in storage at the time because of maintenance work. The bad news is that the blaze caused more than $100 million damage, and the Queen will have to foot part of the bill.
Prince Edward watched on today as some of his family's treasure was returned to Windsor Castle. Buckingham Palace says by enormous luck, 7 of the worst affected rooms were empty when the fire broke out. The blaze raged for 24 hours over the weekend. Initial estimates put the cost at between $100 million and $250 million. Only in the last few hours have the final hotspots been doused. The latest assessment, the structure has come through better than expected.
We've been very fortunate. There has been no severe external walls collapsing.
As the Queen left desolate after her inspection yesterday, the government promised a full restoration.
We will be taking the castle back to the condition in which it was.
But that has stirred a fury. Give the bill to the Queen, say some headlines, as taxpayers question what they'll get in return.
But I do think quite a lot of the photographs and the books and things should be put in